What is the biggest risk to today's average retiree? In my view, it's what we call sequence of return risk. It's not widely discussed, but it's really important. If you want to learn about managing retirement risk, this is a great video for you. So let's talk about what sequence of return risk is. Most people, when they're building out their financial plan, they're assuming an average rate of return. Say it's 6%. When they're building out their plan, it shows it happening almost like you're walking up a staircase, 6% each stair that you climb. But the real world doesn't work that way. Returns can be very lumpy, they can be volatile, right? So even though your average over a 20-year period might be 6%, the order, the year-by-year sequence in which those returns happen matters a lot. And also how you adapt your behavior to that changing market environment, even if your average is 6%, that matters a lot too. So I want to dig into a little bit about what sequence of return rate looks like so you can understand the impact that it could have, and then we can link to another video about a strategy you can use to manage it. It's the implementation of these types of strategies that really help to alleviate the risk that something like sequential returns represent to someone's retirement plan and sustainability around it. Let's look at this graphic. On the left, we have Mrs. Green. On the right, we have Mrs. Red. They both start with $1 million. They both want to take out $50,000 a year, a 5% distribution, just like we talked about in our retirement buckets video that we'll link in the show notes. So what's the difference between the two? But also, let's start with how are they similar? They both average the exact same return, 6%. The difference between Mrs. Red and Mrs. Green is the order in which those returns are realized is inverted for Mrs. Red, and it's the opposite for Mrs. Green. Mrs. Red has 3 straight negative years at the beginning of her retirement. She doesn't alter her behavior, but she has 3 straight down years at the very beginning of retirement. That leaves her running out of money after age 82. That's a big deal. Where Mrs. Green, same average return of 6%, but she doesn't experience those down years until the very end. And she has plenty of money left over, more than she started with, even with her $50,000 distributions. So the average rate of return was the same for each of them, but the sequence in which they happened was different. And you can see how that sequential difference makes all of the difference, right? Mrs. Rudd runs out of money with plenty of years left to go in her retirement, where Mrs. Green is flush with cash all the way out to the end. So we have to have a plan that's flexible in nature that can deal with this as returns come at us in uneven ways. In 2024, we stand here today with markets at all-time highs. That could change, right? Markets can change, like in the early 2000s when it was negative for 3 straight years. We have to have a plan to manage that, which is why I will link a clip to our other video on the bucket strategy that is a proactive way to help manage this risk. I hope you found this informative. If you did, please subscribe to the channel. You'll get plenty of other content on topics just like this to help you feel more informed and confident as you're moving to this next stage of your life. If you found this content helpful, you found it informative, awesome. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, connect on LinkedIn. I'm going to be putting out more content just like this to help people understand how they can maximize their financial opportunities. If you have other questions that are a little bit deeper that I wasn't able to dive into in this video, or you have questions about how it pertains to you individually, awesome, totally okay. Go to the link on my website. There's a space where you can book some time with us. I'd be happy to talk to you about it. Help you as much as I can. It's complimentary. I'll point you in the right direction. If you have other questions, we can tackle those too. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day.
The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Investing includes risks, including fluctuating prices and loss of principal. No strategy assures success or protects against loss. This is a hypothetical example and is not representative of any specific investment. Your results may vary